Don't you love when people say, oh, Black Clover, that's like My Hero Academia 2.0, just worse? Yeah, well, if you do, then you could leave, because that's not what this video is. This video is my third entry into the Art of a Fight Scene series, which I haven't done in a really long time, since my last one was taken down by YouTube for copyright or whatever reasons, I don't even remember, and I never got into making it again. I recently did bring up how Black Clover and My Hero Academia, respectively, tackle the art of what a fight scene is supposed to be completely differently, and why they're both great. So that is what this video is. How Black Clover and My Hero Academia both speak differently through fight scenes, despite the overarching theme of the series seeming similar, but playing out completely differently. The good news is, it will have no manga spoilers, so hey, feel free to buckle up and enjoy. On the surface level, without a doubt, when Asta said, my dream is to become the Wizard King, I think half of us died a little. Cause, it sounds a little teeny bit like Goku wanting to be the strongest, Naruto wanting to be the strongest, Luffy wanting to be the strongest, Deku wanting to be the strongest. With the latter just happening, My Hero Academia is pretty much going on right now, and boom, enter Asta, wants to be the strongest. So, off the bat, a lot of people were turned off by this, by the clash of themes, being that the statement, I want to be the Wizard King, seems to be exactly the same as I want to be the #1 hero. Now, to actually understand why that is absolutely not the case, and I and many others were wrong initially viewing Black Clover as the cliche hodgepodge that it is, for a moment, we have to discuss the difference between a Magic Knight and a hero, and the difference between the Wizard King and the #1 hero. After discussing these themes, I would like to point out why all the fights in My Hero Academia follow suit and follow these themes perfectly, and so do the fights in Black Clover, and why, in turn, it'll make the emotional moments of My Hero Academia stronger than the emotional moments of Black Clover, but it will make the fights of Black Clover better than the fights of My Hero Academia. Not to say either is bad, just putting things in perspective here. The theme of a Magic Knight. So, the point is, every Magic Knight is part of a greater squad and has to do whatever they can to get their squad as much credit as they can. That's their job. Now, the idealism that goes into what makes a Magic Knight can be, you know, being heroic and all that, but then again, there is very little emphasis on the morality of a Magic Knight as opposed to the role of a Magic Knight. Whereas the complete reverse is the case by heroes. Heroes aren't supposed to be making their individual hero squads look better. That's not their job. The ideal of a hero is an ideal of justice. Now, this gets a little muddy because certain heroes, like maybe Endeavor in the beginning, just did the hero stuff for fame, wealth, power. Taku did this great Endeavor analysis where he talked about him for 22 minutes and talked about the theme of non-heroic heroes, and you should maybe check that out, and it might be linked in the description. That's why Stain plays such a pivotal role, despite the fact that he was only really around for 3 episodes. The ideal of a hero is an ideal of justice, while the ideal of a Magic Knight is to get their job done. Endeavor gets his job done, but still, he's looked at through a dishonorable lens because it's not the job, it's how you do it. Now, this is very basic, and I will be covering it in a different video, absolutely, but I'm just trying to get a move on here to get to the fights that I can talk about, because I don't want this video to be 4 hours long. So, how does this play a role in becoming the #1 hero as opposed to becoming the Wizard King? Now, the Wizard King's job is to lead the nation, to be in charge of all of the Magic Knights in the entire nation. The #1 hero does not have any position of leadership whatsoever. He's supposed to be a symbol of peace and an ideal that the nation can grab onto and let them feel more comfortable in their own skin and in their own society. So the one point I want to bring out here about comparing heroes to the Magic Knights, being a hero is an ideal, whereas being a Magic Knight is a duty. They're two completely different things, and they're both focusing on different themes in the series. My Hero Academia is focused on society, so we're worried about ideals, whereas Black Clover is focused on weakness and discrimination, therefore it's focused on carrying out duties. Two completely different, beautiful themes, and that's why I love both series, but let's see how that plays out in the fight scenes, because that's really what I'm set out to do here. So while I could discuss the broad spectrum of fight scenes, including fight scenes of every character ever, I'm going to be focusing mainly on Asta and Deku. Now again, Asta's theme in Black Clover is very different than Deku's in Hero Academia. Deku is born quirkless and therefore powerless to exert justice. He then gains power and wants to become a hero, a force of exerting justice. Asta is born powerless and is therefore discriminated against as not only being a peasant, but also not having magical ability. His goal in becoming a magic knight and, in eventuality, the Wizard King is not to inject justice into the universe, but rather to destroy the paradigm of the role you're born into will define your life. Blend Asta's theme with the theme of Magic Knights in general, and you basically get the blueprint for fight scenes in Black Clover. Blend Deku's theme with the theme of heroes in My Hero Academia, and you get the blueprints for fights in Hero Academia. Every anime ever that writes fight scenes well, writes it in accordance with the theme of the character fighting, as well as the theme the series is trying to push as well, which makes Rock Lee versus Gaara, for example, a absolutely perfect fight in my eyes. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the message in a Black Clover fight versus the message in a Hero Academia fight, and why they play out so differently despite seeming so similar on surface level. Unfortunately, I have recently developed a serious case of YouTuberitis, and if you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I don't know why I did that, but I do plan on doing more of these Art of a Fight Scene videos. I haven't done it in a while since YouTube pissed me off on my last one, but they are actually a ton of fun to make. Let me know in the comments if you want more and what you want in the future. But let's just jump into it. So to discuss the simplest of the three fights I would like to bring up of each series, Deku versus Muscular. Muscular's quirk was obviously different than One For All, but at the same time, it was a physical augmentation quirk, while Deku had the same damn thing. The full power Deku was able to draw out from One For All at that point was still far weaker than Muscular, and therefore, two guys in a head-to-head fight where one guy is way stronger, the way stronger guy will probably win. I mean, hey, that's just a theory, but that's kind of usually how it goes. Obviously, technique and planning and all that would change the result, but here there is no real difference in technique, and there was no planning available. It was one brute force against a weaker brute force. Muscular versus Deku. Now, Deku ended up winning due to power of a friendship smash, unloading 1,000,000% of his power into a single punch, obliterating the living schnizzle out of Muscular. Very cool, Deku. Very cool. Now, before you say, but it wasn't actually 1,000,000%, I know, but that's what he said, so please calm yourself. The idea was that Deku far surpassed his limits, and it's because of him surpassing his limits to protect Koda, i.e. implement justice, that his punch was powerful enough to take down a clearly more powerful adversary. This is basically a quintessential My Hero Academia themed fight. The theme of a hero is to do justice. Deku is supposed to rise from the ashes and surpass his limits to apply justice. Here, a very unjust villain guy was fighting a little kid who granted kicked Deku in the nuts before, but was not deserving of death, so Deku did the impossible and won the fight. Very straightforward and very incumbent with the themes of the actual series, the themes of heroes, and the themes of Deku as a character. As the simplest of the three fights I'd like to bring up from Black Clover, that would be Asta versus Ladros. From pretty much one of the recent episodes of Black Clover, I kind of lose track because I'm only reading the manga, not watching the anime, and there's no manga spoilers here, but I loved this fight. Again, like Deku versus Muscular, it was Asta, who was seemingly weaker than Ladros, who in a one-on-one battle took the W. The difference here is, Asta didn't get a power of friendship smash, he got a power-up. And a power-up that fits very well with his theme in the narrative. Again, his theme was, a boy with no magic can still be a magic knight. And the only reason why he was able to use this ability by absorbing anti-magic is because he had no magic pushing it away. Asta's black demon form only worked because he had no magic, fitting the series theme that power and being powerless is not just an evaluation of strength or magic or nobility. Asta, a non-noble, non-magic, got a power-up that only he could get, and it's because of that power-up that he won the straightforward fight. It wasn't a fight for justice, it was a fight that ultimately came about because he went to the Witch's Forest to protect a fellow guildmate who originally went to the Witch's Forest to save Asta himself. Do you see the back and forth here? This is the beauty of the dynamics of a magic guild, not the dynamics of a hero imposing justice. It's a totally different thing, and it made these two very straightforward fights both feel amazing and both feel incredibly different. As far as emotions go, I felt Deku's victory more in my heart, but as far as purely enjoying the splendor of the fight at hand, I definitely enjoyed Asta's more. Because Deku's is technically a bit of an ass pull, even though it fits the themes of the series, and therefore it's not really an ass pull, that's kind of the story, but no fights in Black Clover whatsoever are ass pulls, and that's because Deku got an ultimate quirk. Asta got nothing, but with that nothing, he's gonna make himself a something. And the only way that can be portrayed is without ass pull, making the superficial fight scene generally superior. For the second fight I would like to bring up, it contains the power of teamwork spearheaded by our protagonist. In the Deku corner, we have Deku, Todoroki, and Ida versus Stain. And in the Asta corner, we have Asta, Vanessa, and Finral versus Veto, both ending in victory. So off the bat, immediately, I like how the superficial fight scene of Asta versus Veto was written a million times more than Deku, Todoroki, and I guess kinda Ida versus Stain. That said, the emotional and ideological impact of Stain's fight, in my personal opinion, was far superior. First, let's talk Stain. Being that a hero's path is a path of solitude, where you will, against all odds, affect the world at large, the Stain fight ended up as 3 individual character arcs for Deku, for Todoroki, and for Ida respectively, where our main character Deku, who's gonna become the #1 hero, was really the turning point in both Todoroki and Ida's lives. This is right after the fight with Deku versus Todoroki, and Todoroki's become a completely different person. Him showing up here altogether is to Deku's credit as far as applying justice. Deku going out of his way to find Ida, who he figured would be fighting Stain, is him analyzing Ida's situation as a friend and knowing what trouble may befall him. This fight also ended up as a turning point for Ida because of how Deku acted, so both Todoroki and Ida's individual character arcs here are fully propped up by Deku's. Deku selflessly risking his life showing up here to fight Stain was the very essence of a hero, as All Might explained to him when he rushed against the slime villain in episode 2, and therefore that fits Deku's and hero themes perfectly as well as the #1 hero theme, which is the all-branching, everyone's universal support theme, which has affected Ida and Todoroki. I said theme a lot there, but the point is, the fight itself was broken up into individual pieces. Deku punching him, Todoroki showing up, Deku getting paralyzed, Ida getting unparalyzed, them each kicking him at the same time. The actual fight itself was not as intriguing as the underlying growth behind each character or the ideology that led them to that point. If you really wanted to power scale this properly, if Deku's punch can shatter all sorts of cement structures and all that like he's proven in the past, and a flick can shatter glaciers, a punch, even granted at 5% of that power, directly hitting Stain should have turned him into, well, mush, and it didn't. Or Todoroki's using fire attacks, but as we know, fire never does anything in anime, so didn't do anything. This was my favorite fight in the anime, though. I absolutely love this fight because of everything it has inside it, aside from the superficial choreography and whatever. But looking at Asta versus Veto, that whole fight is about the bad guy aiming for his goal and the good guys carrying out their job as a magic squad. Now, this Veto guy seems ridiculously powerful. He's taken out Luck and Magna working together. And also one of my favorite fights, by the way, he gave Noelle the place to grow. And he crushed people's dreams before Asta's eyes. Underwater Dude had a dream to become a professional dancer, and he crippled him for life where he'd be unable to dance. And Underwater Girl wanted to be a professional singer, so he injured her in a way where she will never be able to speak again. Yeah, Veto's not the nicest guy in the world. But the point is, Asta, who wants to be the Wizard King, which will lead all the Magic Knights and stuff, has a similar job to Deku as far as being the #1 hero, but the #1 hero is supposed to inspire morality, whereas Asta, who's fighting against discrimination, is supposed to inspire self-confidence. So now, Asta, Vanessa, and Finral working together to fight Veto, superficially, was far better than My Hero Academia's fight. Veto, I think, was a far worse villain than Stain, but the character growth in the support characters, namely Finral and Vanessa, were superior to Todoroki's and Ida's in that individual fight. The overall feeling was just not there to that extent. This is focused on the Magic Knight squad accomplishing their missions, so it was not broken up in the slightest. The combo magic used in Black Clover really shows you what the power of friendship is. Asta has the only attack that could potentially hurt Veto, being an anti-magic sword, so he can dispel magic and actually give him a slice. The problem is, Veto is physically superior to Asta in every way imaginable. In durability, in strength, in speed, speed and precision, they have no chance. But Finral, who was always a coward and never thought anything of himself, for the first time in his life tried his hardest to help out his buddy. His buddy, who was seemingly in a worse social position than he was. You see, in his past, he was always made fun of because his younger brother had crazy awesome spatial magic, which was basically Zahando from JoJo's, while Finral himself was only able to make little teleporty wormhole thingies, making him unsuitable for a straightforward battle. As a support fighter, though, that's where he shines. So he would pop up little dimensional portals for Asta to jump through and appear out of, while Vanessa, who uses string magic, whose real arc was the next one, so it's not like she got as much development here, would tweak Asta's trajectories, pulling him in and out of the portals that Finral opened up. It's an ultimate teamwork, where if any of them would screw up even for a moment, they would all die. Asta charging, knowing that he has 100% belief in his friends that he will not die. His only focus was slicing up Veto. Vanessa and Finral had to read his mind and each other's mind. Not literally, but, you know, power of friendship style, read mind, to try to predict how everything would line up to keep Asta alive. Because if Asta dies, oh, they all die. They all surpassed their limits, not with the power of friendship giving them ultra boosts, but they surpassed their limits because they believed in themselves. Even though they were worthless scum, black bull pieces of garbage, Asta, who's fighting against that exact mindset, eliminating the discriminatory idealism that society placed in everyone's minds, that's when the fight comes into fruition, and that's when they actually take victory in a totally different fashion than seen in My Hero Academia. The final of the three fights I would like to bring up is Deku versus Todoroki and Asta versus Langris. So, Asta versus Langris is manga only, so I will not really be mentioning anything spoilery over there. But this way, Deku versus Muscular is a one-on-one victory, Deku versus Stain is a teamwork victory, and Deku versus Todoroki is a loss. But this loss very well focuses on what Deku is. In a sense, he threw that match. He could have won, but he really tried to be a hero and justly help Todoroki out of his mental burden. And he did. Deku absolutely won that emotional fight. He just lost the metaphysical fight. But with that loss, Deku was being a hero. Asta, a guy who's supposed to be proving himself and proving to the world that someone born with nothing can become something, he can't take that type of heroic loss. And he'll fight his hardest and sometimes just not win. I don't want to get into spoilers there, so I won't. But it was a fantastic fight all around. Asta was greatness. Zoro was greatness. Finral, kind of in the back there, was also greatness. So without getting into spoilers, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this Art of a Fight Scene video, and perhaps it can give you a different viewpoint on how fights operate in both series. And in a nutshell, that's also why, for the most part, Deku's victories are brute force based, while Asta's all require strategy, because he was born crippled to an extent, as far as magic knights go, and he has to think out of the box to nab some victories. I love both series, personally, and I'm always happy to talk about either of them. At this point, especially Black Clover, because I feel like it's not getting as much love as it deserves, especially in regard to its fight scenes, because as far as superficial fights go, Black Clover's fights are the second greatest written anime fights after JoJo's, in my personal opinion, and I will be making a video on that. So stay tuned. Feel free to subscribe for that or future Art of a Fight Scene videos, delving into how the philosophy of the series affects the superficial battle as well. If you ever hear anyone comparing My Hero Academia fights to Black Clover fights and getting all toxic about it, feel free to show them this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Link in the description to my Twitter, feel free to follow me there, as well as link to my merch and link to my Patreon. All patrons are invited to the Discord server, and I especially wanted to thank King Beat My Meat, Negus Nogus, Sage of Snake, Pop-Up, Grumpy Welshman, Wilson Fletcher, Team Sparky65, Lazy Rodent, Girthy Worm Jin, Fernando Costa, Allison Stricker, JD Fincher, Cosine Pitch Shifter, Z-Laser, Sash, Ethan Price, King Tank Games, Frisky Dingo, Miriam Ramirez, Q, Thigis Hendricks, Praise Lord Ugidugumishu, Billy Thompson, Mitochondria, Nate, Sergeant Malarkey, Salve Says, Alan Weebus, Kaiser Ruanar, Crazy Beat, Divine Reigns, Teakui, Miku, and TM Philly. I also wanted to thank the Lord Tweegarank, Meezy Jeezy, Anthony Booth, Steelers, Matthew Yang, Pooh Zerker, Prel Gala, Emir Zekik, Rari, MD, Santo Kyomasa, Zindergarten, Emperor Misha, and Kyle the Warrior. Huge thanks to the God Usopp rank, Burning Bush, Dark Element, Necro, Sunny Parks, James Patterson, and Maurice Luis Dreyfus, and really mega thanks to the Has Hashirama Cells rank, Gremin. I love y'all. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Again, link in the description to my Endeavor video, as well as to my Asta video. Feel free to check those out. And ladies and gentlewomen, I just said the same thing twice. Have yourself a most wonderful evening, and remember to stay weird, fam.